It was great. Some butterflies, but so it feels good. Feels like football weather. So aren't y'all happy about that? Everybody from Alabama here. Everybody knows how hot it is. Yeah, jeez, the last couple weeks, man, been brutal.
As a guy going to his first start, a lot of times that's new. You've been around this program for a number of years. How much more comfortable do you feel going into Saturday, knowing you know everything there is about this program and what it's like going on the road with people?
Yeah, no, there's a great feeling going into a game like this, just knowing that I'm more mature than I was, even last year and compared to a couple years ago. But I'm just gonna prepare like I've always prepared. It's just the first start. I'm just excited and just happy. My plan is just to do the best I can be and get my guys the ball. So.
When you look at this offense, how good can this offense be?
Yeah, I mean, we can be as good as we want to be. It all just depends on, just doing our assignment and making sure that, we control our box and, keep the main thing the main thing. Coach Saban used to say that all the time, not look at the scoreboard and just make sure that, hey, we need to do what the task at hand is and not worry about everything else, not be outcome oriented, So I think if we just focus on, the main thing and the right things, that it'll take us as far as we need to go.
Have you gotten advice from any other former quarterbacks here or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to AJ quite a bit. John Parker Wilson, Bryce, Jalen, teammates of mine. They all said this, some of the same things. They're just like, hey, trust your preparation, trust your confidence, and just go play, man. That's something that I really took from Jalen just because, he always used to say that, whether I, went in when we were up big or went in the Oklahoma game, he was just like, man, just go play. And that's something that, I just kind of take even in practice, like, hey, I didn't get a chance to play my first 3 years. And so now that the opportunity is here, I'm just going to go take control of it and just go have fun.
Might be weather Saturday, trying to simulate throwing a wet ball. How difficult is that for a quarterback?
Oh, I mean, certainly, but, you can't really worry about that. My job is to make sure that I get the ball to guys, and whether it's raining, snow, sleet, or sunshine, that's what I'm going to plan on doing.
Speaking of the weather, you've already had an experience playing in those type of conditions, going back to a couple seasons ago, playing versus South Florida. Can you just talk about what you've taken from that experience and how you can use it going into this season? You're going into your first start and everything.
Yeah, no, certainly. I learned a lot from the South Florida game. One, just being more mature and got to prepare better, and two, just not making it bigger than what it is. I was super excited, super anxious going in to that game because I didn't know what to expect, what to prepare for. And after talking to Coach DeBoer, Coach Grubb, Coach Sheridan, even Coach Saban, and they all said the same thing: just to go have fun, just control what you can control and make sure to keep the main thing the main thing. I said it earlier. The main thing to me is making sure that we don't have any negative plays, and so moving the ball down the field. So like I said earlier, it's rain, snow, sleet, sunshine, man. I'm just going to make sure that we have positive plays and get my team the best position to win.
What's been Coach Grubb's message to you over the past few days in terms of preparing for this?
Yeah, just go let it loose. He said you've done the training, you've done the preparation. No, now it's your time. This is your time to shine. You've waited, you've done the work. The work's paid off. So now it's time to go show it. And what better chance to do it at a great stadium, at a great program with tradition, pride, like at the University of Alabama at Florida State. So I'm excited.
You've been so patient in your approach. How important is it going to be patient with yourself and not try to put too much stuff on yourself right away in terms of expectations and maybe, like you said, trying to do too much in that first start? How much are you focusing on that?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I talked to Coach Saban here recently, and I asked him the same question. I was like, what do I need to tell myself going into a game like this on just, how to not get so anxious, how to not, get nervous, how to not make it bigger than what it is. And he was just like, hey, just play within yourself. Make sure that you, keep your team out of negative plays and negative drives. And, he always said that if you end the drive with a punt, a kick, a PAT, a field goal, or a punt, then you're in good shape and you're not dead in the water. So I'm taking that approach of just making sure, like, hey, I'm going to make sure that I march down the field and do everything I can to move the ball forward and not go backwards.
Is that easier said than done though? When you feel like the pressure, the weight of leading your offense, what does your mental, I guess, look like heading into I guess, when your heart's racing. And
Yeah, no, I mean, certainly. I was thinking about it this morning. I woke up and I was like, man, it's really here. Like, it's game week. It's something I've prepared and, wanted for a long time. And like I said, like at Florida State, who was a great, what is a great program. But, I think about it before I take on the field. I kind of, Micah 5:5 says, peace be with the Lord. And so, I kind of take that approach of just, before I step on the field, just, taking a little second and praying and taking a breath and just, being like, hey, like he's with me, and whatever situation happens, just he's going to be beside me, and I'm excited for it. And so that's what I kind of go, even on the practice field, just kind of make sure and understand, like, hey, he's with me wherever I go. So.
What's your relationship like with Parker and kind of your trust level with him going into this road environment in the first game?
Parker Brailsford, that guy? No, that's one of my best friends, man. We actually went to go eat lunch yesterday. Being able to have the best O-line in the world and the best center is, something that a quarterback wishes for. So, being able to have a smart guy, physical guy like Parker is everything I asked for in a center. So, being able to talk and communicate to him and, us being captains really makes me feel comfortable because I know that, not only is he one of my better friends on the team, but I know that he's going to hold me accountable in everything that I do. And I make sure, he makes sure that I, hold up to the Alabama standard. And so, I make sure I do that the same with him. But, we have a great relationship. And honestly, I can't thank Parker enough for what he's done for me and just, talking through everything with me because, I wouldn't be here if he didn't push me every single day and make me a better player.
Rubbing in your helmet with plays and stuff, is there ever a moment, during a game or a practice where he just kind of like gives you a, hey, take a deep breath, kind of a calming thing over the headset, or is that just not?
Yeah, no, certainly. He's just like, all right, buddy, take a breath here. Like, get these guys going because it may be a long drive or it may be a long play or it may be a long call or something like that, where the guys, all right, everybody's thinking, just need to calm them down. And that's something that Coach Grubb's really good at, just making sure that, like, hey, take a deep breath right here, man. All right, let's go get after him. And he's very good at communicating. He tells me stories all the time about him and Gino communicating a lot, so he's been great at that.
What kind of an advantage do you think it'll be for you as a quarterback to have your position coach on the sideline on Saturdays, but still have your OC and play caller being able to be up in the box and looking down?
That's an underrated thing that we have, certainly. Having Coach Grubb and Mitch Dolan and Tyler Hughes in the box, and then having, Coach Sheridan and then other guys on the sideline, it's a quarterback's dream to have those type of resources and just, understand that, like, hey, what are they doing and talking through it all because, the first game's always about adjustments, you know what I mean? Like, they got a new coordinator, new defense, a lot of new guys, and we want to make sure that, we can make adjustments all throughout the game, and being able to have all those eyes on everybody is just something that, I really appreciate.
Ty, you've been around several captains in your time here. Now that you're a captain yourself, who stands out as the type of leader that you want to be, that you've seen the example of?
Yeah, the leaders that I saw that I really, wanted to be like, I think off the top of my head, everybody, of course, but I think of Will Anderson, Henry To'oTo'o, and of course, my guy, my best friend, Tyler Booker, man. Like, those guys were just, we talk about relentless. Like, every day they would be the same type of guy, bring the same type of energy, make sure that, they were just competing every single day, and they were making us better. And they would get after guys who, wouldn't give the same intensity that they had. And so that's something that, I had to take a step back and look at. And it's like, man, like, the whole part of this program is to match my intensity, right? And so when the captains and the leaders, they have the best intensity every single day, imagine if they bring somebody else with them and they bring the whole team with them, right? So if they have the best type of intensity and energy, then, the whole team will have it. And so those guys, man, have been a big influence in my life. And, a bunch of guys, especially the captains, like I think about, Jalen, Bryce, Jordan Battle, Malachi, like all those guys, man, they did a great job.
Last two. Cam Miller. Talk about those running backs behind him and how do you see them step up?
Yeah, hurting Jam definitely hurt us. That's my roommate, that's my guy. Love him to death, man. But something that it speaks a lot about Jam is he's not gonna be down on himself. He's gonna help those young guys. So I think about Rich Young, Daniel Hill, transfer with Dre, and then Kevin Riley, A.K. Deere, all those guys coming up, and they're taking reps and just gaining knowledge. And Jam's in the back just talking to them, coaching them up, man. So those guys have done a great job. They're meeting with me all the time, just trying to make sure that that, hey, when their number gets called, that they're ready to go. And Coach G and those guys have done, a great job just getting them ready. And I'm excited to watch them play Saturday.
This would be the most hostile environment that you faced in your career so far. But looking back throughout your career, what's the biggest environment? Do you have anything to fall back on? It could be high school or early, or just?
I mean, yeah, in high school, right, in Martin, Tennessee, there wasn't a big stadium like Doak Campbell. You know what I mean? We couldn't afford to have many guys like these other high schools here in Alabama. But I'm trying to think. I mean, playing the SEC, right? You're gonna have a bunch of stadiums like Tennessee, LSU. Arkansas was loud. So just talking to guys who have played in Doak Campbell and Florida State, they said it's one of those type games. Playing in the SEC. So we got to make sure that we can handle the noise and be ready to go, and just make sure that all our comms are ready.
Is there a former, thanks, everybody.